Even when the heart gets going, even when I've lost all control, I know that you're calling me to you. Doesn't matter where I've been, this love isn't based on what I've done. Jesus, let your love take over me. Till the life runs out, I will sing with all of my heart. Still your praise I'll shout from the morning hour through nightfall.
All right.
Welcome to Insight, Purpose, and Perspective, the show where faith meets culture, purpose meets passion, and inspiration turns into action.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Insight, Purpose, and Perspective. I'm your host, J.L. Bumbry. And tonight we have another special guest. We have First Lady Latanya Tyson, who is the wife of Bishop Tyrone Tyson. She's the mother of 4 wonderful children and grandmother to 7 exceptional grandchildren. I'm going to give you a little bit more of her bio. Dr. Tyson's personal philosophy is education is the foundation of success. It is a reflection of her inner spirit as a leader who seeks after God's own heart. Dr. Tyson is a native of Lakeland, Florida, and attended Polk County Schools and is a graduate of Kathleen High School in Lakeland, Florida. She received her Bachelor of the Arts degree in interdisciplinary, and boy, if I learn how to talk, y'all will be good, social sciences from the University of South Florida. She also received a Master of Arts in Adult Education from the University of South Florida and a doctorate of philosophy and higher education from the University of Phoenix. Well, First Lady, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to talk with us.
Yes.
Really appreciate it.
Yes, I am glad to be here.
Yeah. Well, we're going to jump right into this interview because what we want to do, guys, is we want to show the human side of ministers, pastors, and pastors' wives. You know, it's a special, I know it's difficult being a pastor's wife, but first thing I want to ask you is, can you share how you met your husband and your initial reaction to his calling to ministry?
Um, so this is my version of how we met. If you ask him, he's going to have a different version, but nevertheless, my version is the correct version. So I was out doing what I do best at Carolina Christian College, which is letting people know that Carolina Christian College is here to provide your biblical higher education needs. At the time, my husband didn't have a degree, and so he was one of the many pastors in the city that I reached out to let them know about the school. Of course, he was ignoring me during that time, but he saw me at a fellowship breakfast that my uncle was hosting at the time, and he said that he saw me walking across the room, that I was minding my own business. I had on my Carolina Christian College shirt, and I went and introduced myself, and I was like, sir, you haven't responded back to me. Are you interested in attending Carolina Christian College? And he responded back to me that next day, and we haven't been separated since then.
Oh, wow, that's great. Well, I'm gonna have to ask Bishop to hear his version. I know that's a little different, but since we got the true version, everybody, we know exactly how it
True.
went down. You know? Yeah. So how did you feel when you first realized you would be a first lady?
Oh, I remember thinking it was on a Wednesday. It was so funny. It was on a Wednesday, and we were talking, and I got off the phone, and I called my mom, and I was like, "Mama, I think that he likes me," and she was like, "Okay, Tanya." So not even thinking that it was going to be turning into something or anything like that, but it was my initial reaction was it was a shock. And we dated for a long time, so I was able to really get to know him, get to understand who he is as a pastor, who he is as an individual, where he wanted to go, what was he looking for in a mate, what would that look like for me, and what would he need for me to be standing there on his side.
Mm, mm. So how do you define your role as first lady?
Taking care of him. That's my only job, is to
That's
take
your
care of
only
him.
job.
That's my only job.
Okay. Well, okay. Well, then what are some of the biggest challenges that you had to face as first lady?
Oh, so everyone has a either a stereotype or a picture of who and what a first lady is.
Mm,
And there's truly no definition for a first lady. A first lady, in my opinion, is who you are to your husband. Because yes, he is a pastor. Yes, he is leading a flock of people. Yes, he has been called by God. But your calling is not the pastor. Your calling is to take care of that man. And so you have to approach it in a way that you meet in his need. Now, his needs might be different when it comes down to what's needed in the church and what's needed at home. And so you have to understand those different dynamics to determine what does your husband need so that he can be successful, so that he can be filled up after he has poured out to so many people. How do you fill him up? And so you have to know who you're dealing with.
mm, mm. Excuse me. I'm like I said, I'm still getting over a cold.
You're fine.
Mm. But so so how has your relationships with friends and family been influenced by your role as first lady?
I have a couple of bumps along the way in the beginning. I guess I wasn't described as the first lady type when I moved up here. Like I said, I'm originally from Florida, like you shared in my bio. And so when I moved up here, I had to, plant myself and get to know people and let people get to understand who I was, and make those connections with everyone. And so it wasn't like a smooth selling in the beginning because people just didn't know. And even though I grew up in the church, born, raised, have always been there, um, people didn't associate me with religion. I wasn't described that way. Yeah. Even though, I mean, from all of my life, I can't remember not being in church. My mom made
Right.
sure we were in church. My dad and his family were, there's still are, extremely faith believers, and church is just a part of who we are.
Hmm. Well, I I'm just taken aback by that because from the very first time that I attended y'all's church and I met y'all, I never got that impression. You came off as what I would expect a pastor's wife and a first lady to be. But I mean, perception is reality sometimes. I used to be a bartender years ago, and if you ask people, what kind of bartender I was, people would say, well, he's the greatest bartender in the world. And then there's other people that say, well, he bartends for the devil. And I'm like, okay, so which one of those are true? Both, you
Right,
know. So,
right.
but I never took offense to those kinds of things. And I'm sure you haven't either. You just be who you are, because like we were talking about earlier, it's so difficult. The perception that people have of a pastor and his wife and how they should be and what they should do and act and all these things, when you're humans just like the rest of us. You just have a unique call on your life, and like you said,
Exactly.
supporting your husband. So how do you balance your personal life and family responsibilities with the demands of church life?
Oh, so you know what? There is no balance. Just, I guess that's a weakness. And I say that because my husband and I, we are literally together all the time.
Mm,
So I just got back from a conference, and he didn't go to the conference. So his whole little weekend was all messed up because I wasn't here with him. And so we don't have those boundaries or those downtime, because ministry is 24 hours, 7 days a week. You never know what is coming. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't get to take a vacation,
Right.
or do things like that, but it's him and I together all the time, always thinking about ministry, always pouring into one another, always encouraging one another, sometimes always crying with one another. So everything that we do is centered around being who we need to be for the people, so that we can help somebody else out.
Right.
So
Right.
we got to do better with that separation, and right now it's not happening.
Well, it's just like he said when we talked last week. That the ministry is just it's your life. It's just everything is wrapped around it. So there's no real separation in it.
And
So
I actually love it. Is now, do we get tired sometimes? Do I get
right,
tired of a lot of, I mean, but the reward from it is, yeah, I'm doing what I love to do, and I
right,
couldn't ask for nothing better.
right. So do you have any strategies or practices that you use to maintain your own spiritual and emotional health during, like you say, you had some ups and downs? Is
Yes, so I'm a part of a couple of different women groups that I have the opportunity for somebody else to pour into me, the opportunity for me to go sit at a conference, and it doesn't matter who my name is or who I'm married to. I can just sit and be poured into, or receiving those encouraging messages throughout the week and each morning, just connecting with other women, that titles don't matter. It's just helping one another to, and encouraging one another. So of course I have that, and then I'm always a usually an upbeat person, and my husband laugh about it all the time. I'm the one that's up early in the morning,
right,
and depending on what's going on, I might put on some gospel music, and I'm like, I'm all in and stuff, and I'm just upbeat and thanking God for this opportunity, this day that He has given, because we
mm,
never know when today might be our last day.
exactly, exactly. Now it's funny. It's reversed with my wife and I. I'm the one that gets up early in the morning, and she sleeps in a lot. And I'm like that. The thing that I say all the time is, first thing, like when I wake up, I like, Lord, thank you for the wake up call. And I tell people when they're going through things, you were on the wake up list this morning. That's the first blessing of the day. Everything else is gravy after that. If you take that attitude.
Right.
And there were some people who didn't wake up, and I always say the tragedy in those some of those folks who didn't wake up, they didn't end up where they thought they were. They might have thought they were going up, and they ended up going down. So
Hmm.
when you wake up, hey, that's a blessing, that's a victory, and be grateful. If we um, keep not being cliche, but the attitude of gratitude, it makes it harder. My mother, who passed away a few years ago, she was one of these people. She thrived on misery. And I used to tell her, I said, Mama, we got a roof over our head. We got food to eat. There are homeless people out here who they don't know what they're going to eat or drink. They living outside, so maintain be thankful for the things that are going right. And
Exactly.
let's see. And we got got one of my followers. Uh, it's important to keep your well full. That's what Pastor put in there. Thank you, Pastor. And what am I met Teresa? She said hello. Hey Teresa, how you doing? Thank you for watching. And before we go any further, guys, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure you hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of the episodes that we are putting out. Yeah. Oh, here's another one. We got to put this one up. And for the record, we met and she chased me down until I gave up and married her. I love it. I love it.
Oh, he is so special.
Yeah.
Bless his soul.
Well, we love him today. That's awesome. I knew it was gonna be something that coming across there. It's always because the way and that's the thing. I love the dynamic between the two of y'all. You know, I attended your church for a few years, and I got to watch you interact with each other, and I could tell, you know, this is a special couple. They really care about each other and really love each other. And you better watch yourself if you don't want to cross these two people. You know, somebody might turn green on you or something.
Yes, we really do. We have so much fun together.
Yeah,
It's amazing how we were just meant for one another.
I can dig it. I can dig it. Well, let me get back. I got another. What was the next question? Oh yeah. Um, so can you share any specific ministries or projects that you are particularly passionate about? We want to showcase those if you got something that.
Um, so my I guess my biggest thing, right? I wouldn't even say right now. I think it might have always been my thing is pouring into other young women. I was a first generation college student, and of course, so my mom didn't go to school. My dad only had a eighth grade education,
Hmm.
and so I went to school, and I continued on, of course, to get my doctorate. And in that, I often remember, I tell people the story of how I came about attending the University of South Florida. My mom and I, of course, we didn't know anything because this was all foreign to us. And she took me on campus, and there was a financial aid officer there that took the time to show me how to navigate financial aid, how to register for classes, how to go through this whole process and
Hmm.
make sure that I was going to be a good student. I don't remember her name. I have no contact information or anything like that. And after that one experience, I never saw her again or anything because I did go to the school, but we were at a different campus. But I
Hmm.
always remember how she treated me and how she poured into me, and it didn't matter who I was. She took the time to give me what I needed so that I could be successful. And so because of that, I have continued all the time to make sure that I'm pouring into other young women and those college age women and those high school kids, to let them know that there's somebody out there that I don't need to know your name. I still love you enough. I still care enough, just because I understand how it is not to be in the know, not to have access to something that now, because I have access to it, I can teach you along the way. So I continue to pour into young girls, and they they always doing something. I was with them this weekend. So if anybody follow me on social media, you're gonna see me in a little video dancing with them and stuff. Listen, y'all, I was so tired. They had me out so late. Jesus. So I told them, I always call them heifers, and they love that term because they know that that's a term of endearment for me.
Hmm.
I told them, I said, y'all heifers, y'all got me out late. Y'all know I got to get up in the morning. And they're like, Dr. Tyson, we gonna get you back. They got me back
Hmm.
in, but I was still tired. But
I know, right? But
yes,
hey,
but
keeps you
I
young.
loved it.
Keeps you
Huh?
young. I say it
Yes.
keeps you young. You know.
Yes, they
My
do.
my wife and I, my grandson, he spends the majority of his time over here, and you know, it's the same thing. I mean, that little boy, he's 6 years old, and he's so bright, and you know, it's a joy. It's sometimes challenging because sometimes I just want to, but you know,
Yes, I do.
but I mean, you know, and it's funny. Well, not funny, but you know, it's just a repeat when, because we live in my grandparents' house, and when I was a little boy, it was the same thing. I spent so much time over here with my grandparents. You know, they taught me, you know, work ethic. They taught me all kinds of things that have carried over into my life today. And I say that's why grandparents are so important
Hmm.
nowadays.
They are.
But
They
yeah. So let's how do you build and maintain relationships with your congregation?
So my oldest daughter, she's always telling me that I talk too much and that I'm always talking. So I like talking to people. And so I just get to talking. Doesn't matter what we talking about. I'm gonna find something to talk about, something to laugh at, something to encourage that person. And I believe that I have a um, how would I describe it? A sense that I can share something with somebody and let them know what they need in that moment. I don't
Hmm.
always have to know what their situation is, but I can share something, or I can say something, or remind them of something, or encourage them in some type of way. And I've been doing that um, all of my adult life.
Right.
Just, being there, I believe that I am a natural servant leader. It comes so easy to me, and I don't feel like I'm working. I don't feel like I'm out of my element. I feel like I'm in my element. And when
Hmm.
I'm talking to people, because I'm going to be honest and frank with them, I believe that people appreciate that, and they're able to take my words and go another day, just be encouraged for another day.
Yeah, amen. Amen. That's something I try to do, but I, the problem with me is, people say I'm arrogant, but I'm direct, and I don't mince a lot of words, and I try not to sugarcoat things, because I think, especially in some churches today, they have some churches that kind of pander to the congregation, not giving them the full truth of the gospel, and let them
Hmm.
know, let's call sin sin, and if you're out of order, we do it, but we do it in love. We're not condemning
Right.
you, because the word says there's no condemnation, but there's a lot of behavior that I see in churches that, they just kind of let some of these things slide, but we do have to hold ourselves to a standard.
Hmm.
So, let me ask you this: how has being a pastor's wife contributed to your personal and spiritual growth?
Listen, so Bishop is an educator. So
Right.
listen, he had me taking classes. I was like, dude, God, I remember early on, when we were just dating, he had me coming to his church doing his ministers and training classes. I'm like, at that time, I wasn't even a minister. I wasn't even thinking about doing something like that. I
Right.
was just trying to live my best life and get people to come to school. That's all I was trying to do. But he got
Right.
people coming. He be making me talk. I get scared. I don't want to talk. He be like, nope, you're going to learn today. I was, Jesus. So I married an
Oh,
educator. So he has
yeah.
forced me to step outside the box and to become comfortable talking about God, and talking about my experiences with God, and talking about how my testimony can help somebody else. So yeah, because of him,
I
just
know,
I
right?
have
And we
to.
got to showcase Bishop, because he is putting it out there, telling folks how to send some love, hit that love button. Yeah, we appreciate that. Any comments, any kind of reactions, we always appreciate that kind of stuff. But it's like he's your biggest cheerleader, like my wife is. She's my biggest cheerleader.
Yes.
Sometimes she's the bane of my existence sometimes, but I would not take anything for her. She challenges me, and I need that. She, the story behind how we met. It's been over 20 years ago. We met online, and I was in another relationship at the time, but it was on again and off again, and we met and we kind of got together. But the other young lady I was dating, she ended up getting pregnant, and I decided to go and try to make a family. Well, that didn't work. And then when we got divorced, I looked for her. I couldn't find her. I looked on Facebook, and I posted a comment, and she responded. And I looked at that name and I said, no, that can't be her. And I pulled up the profile, and then I messaged her, and we talked briefly on, Messenger. We did Messenger, and I said, let me
Uh-huh.
get can I get your phone number. And for the next 4 days, we talked from like 10 o'clock at night to 4 in the morning.
Ah,
And we've been together ever since. And but she said, we probably wouldn't have made it if we had got together back then, because we were both too immature. And I think it was right. God had to mature us and mold us, and had to go through some things to be prepared for this woman, and
mm-hmm.
definitely for her be prepared for me, because I say I'm grateful, because she puts up with me, and I'm not the easy guy to put up with.
Right. It's a blessing to experience something and then find that love that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, and see the difference and appreciate the difference between the relationship. Because both Bishop and I were married before, and because of those experiences, we now appreciate one another, and we learned how to communicate. And of course, we learned more about ourselves, so that
Yeah.
when we did get in a relationship, we were able to discuss those things that we kind of bumped heads on and work through it, and
Hmm.
know that we were both coming from a place of love and no competition.
Yeah, yeah, definitely that.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I
because
usually she usually ends up, but it's not about winning or losing, but the resolution doesn't always seem to go the way that I expect it to go. But again, I wouldn't take nothing for her. She's the best thing ever happened. My life is so much better with her than without her. I can't imagine now being without her.
Mhm,
Yeah.
that's
But
wonderful.
so what do you find the most rewarding thing about being a first lady?
Um, the first thing that comes to mind is doing ministry. We, like I've said before, we love doing this work together. Um,
Mhm.
on Sundays when I'm watching him preach, it is just like wow. Um, even when I'm okay, so he needs quietness when he's working on his sermon and talking
Right.
to the Lord and stuff. But even when those little moments that I can sneak downstairs and just kind of watch him and stuff, it is just
Hmm.
amazing. Or I see something click in his head and he think of a sermon, and then he bouncing those ideas off of me and stuff. And it's just like uh, it's wonderful. And I couldn't ask for anything more or anything better. It's just seeing him in his element is it's life changing. Um, Knowing him and his tagline, "Preach Tyson, preach, rumble, young man, rumble," and
I know, right?
we, and so we still use that term. He's talking about your old man now, but that's all right. When it get good to him, he still go in, and
I
just
know, right?
to be a part of that, it's like you get in the word in a way that is transformative for you in that moment, and it is exactly what you need. So even though I'm living here with him, hearing him
Hmm.
say those things, hearing him um give the word in the way that he does, encourages me. So when we're faced with trials and tribulations, I can remember something that he has preached, so that I can push us just a little further.
Right, right. Yeah, I'm amazed. First of all, at all ministers, how you come up with these messages. It's just amazing me. But that's part of the call. I mean, I'm not called, 'cause, I would never want to do. Well, let me stop saying that because I've had a few people. Well, you need to be in the pulpit. You explain stuff so well. I said that's only because I've read this book 100 times. I've memorized stuff only because I've read it so much. That's the
Mhm,
only thing. It's nothing special. God didn't hit me with a thunderbolt or anything. But I just have so much respect for God's word that I would not step up to that role unless I knew for sure that He had called me to it. Because you see so many people who do it and they weren't called. They just maybe they believed the hype or whatever they did to get
mhm.
started, and they were out of order, and it's a mess.
Right,
So I'm
right.
not trying to do anything like
I'm
that.
gonna stay in my lane.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, I'm a servant. I have a servant's heart. At the church where I'm at. I don't know if Bishop told you I'm getting ready to start training to be a deacon,
Okay.
and my pastor he been on me about it, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this, and he said, well, Joe, you've been doing the work of a deacon ever since you stepped through the door. You might as well have the title. So I finally yielded, because I just want to be used. I just want to
Mhm.
serve God and serve His people. That's my thing. But well, let's go. What advice would you give to women who are about to become pastors' wives?
Whew. Be your authentic self. Um, you cannot meet the need of all the people, and you shouldn't put that on you to try to meet the need of all the people. And you cannot be something that that you're not. For
Right.
example, people always think that the first lady should be able to sing and play the piano. Listen,
Nope.
I I want to play the piano real real bad, but something happened. I don't know what happened with my daddy, but he skipped over my generation because all my other cousins, they can play instruments by ear and stuff, but
Oh wow.
it skipped over me and my brother. I don't know what happened, but
Right,
nevertheless,
right.
that's not my calling. Um,
Yeah.
and so I'm not going to be up there trying to do something now. We all have sung on the choir, and so I get up there and I'll try to be on the praise team and something like that. But I'm not trying to lead no songs or anything like
Right.
that. Unless the spirit do something to me, then all else is all over. But
I know, right?
but on the average, don't try to be something that you're not. Be who you are. And before you get into that role, you need to know who you are, because you will be tested by women. My God, you're gonna be tested by women, and you
Mm,
have to be poised enough to not let your emotions be swayed one way or the other, because somebody is watching you and you don't want to hinder that person that's watching you. You might not want to be in leadership or want to be looked up to, but listen, get over it, sis. You're gonna be. And so, because of that, you have to respect who your husband is and respect who you are in front of these people, and show yourself in a way that it doesn't bring reproach to the church, it doesn't bring reproach to your husband, and definitely don't bring reproach to yourself. So,
mm.
something as simple as my husband, he's going to support anything I do, but something simple as wearing a dress that a little bit too tight, or
Right,
the slit a little bit too high,
right.
and he might love it, but you got to remember, no, they're not going to look at you the way that they look at him. And because you are a woman, you have to have some level of modesty. Even though
Mm,
you might have the eight glass figure, you might be gorgeous, you can't always do or be what you want, or do what you want to do, because you got to think about somebody else. So before you enter this role, make sure that you're ready for it.
hmm. Amen. Well, tell us now, how can church members best support and encourage you, their first lady?
Oh, my church does a good job of it. They love me. Um, they love me through words, through actions, through encouragement. I've lost family members, and they were there for me.
Mm,
It's the small things that they do that go such a long way. It's something as simple. We have one of our church mothers. Every Sunday, she was like, I just want to see the shoes that you have on. So I, I make sure sometimes I don't feel like getting dressed, but because I
right,
know she's gonna be looking at the shoe that I have on, I say, you know what?
right,
Let me go ahead and change this outfit. Or if I put on a pair of jeans, I'm gonna put on a pump too, just so that she can
right.
get that little joy of checking out whatever shoe that I'm gonna have on for that Sunday. And
Exactly.
speaking of that, I want to share with the people. It's a little off the question from now, but we talked
Yeah.
about it earlier of how I like to pour into young girls.
Hmm.
I preached this message, and for the life of me, I can't think of the message right now. But in that message, I was talking about um, being the legacy and being the leader, being the woman that other little girls was going to look up to. And there's this young lady in our church. She watches everything, everything
Mm.
that I do. And when I'm preaching, I take off my shoes because I'm a little country. So I took off my shoes and 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 I'm preaching a message and stuff. And afterwards, she tell me, she was like, I want to wear your shoes. And so even though she couldn't fit my shoes, I still gave her those shoes, because one day she's going to be able to fit them shoes and do
Right.
much more than I have ever been able to do, because she has watched and learned from me, and she continues to watch and learn from me. So one day she's going to feel them shoes and stand on my shoulders, and I'm going to be so proud of her.
Amen. That's a great story. I love that. I love that. So, what have you learned about yourself through this journey as you've been going along with Bishop? What's is there anything that stands out?
Yeah, I do not have to be vindictive. I yeah, transparent moment. I'm very vindictive.
No.
Yes.
No, really, I'm
Yes.
not joking. That's hard to believe. You're just such a kind and and loving person. I could never tell that you would be like that.
I God has been working on me. Bishop
Okay.
and I, we've been together now almost what? Almost 20 years, 14 years, 15 years. Bishop? Yeah. Okay. So we've been together a long time, but when when we met, I was the type of person, if you did something to me, I was going to get you back. I was there, there's a side of me that people in North Carolina don't quite understand who I was before I moved up here, but people
Right.
back at home, they
They
know.
know.
They, they,
They
they,
know.
they know. My sister will often say that she's not the one that you need to be worried about, that it's me that you need to be worried about, because I'm very vindictive. But God has um molded me into the person that he knew that I could be. And
Right.
I don't have that get back at people now. I can be like, you know what? Frankly, I don't care, and I can keep it moving. I can still be nice and say hello and keep it moving, because I have learned that because I'm no longer like that, that I have opened up doors and touched so many more people, because when
Mm,
they saw me in a situation where I should have got somebody and I
hmm.
didn't, they respected me more.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I know I was a lot like that as well. I mean, but mine came from, when I was a child, I was bullied a lot because, I was the fat
Mhm.
kid. I was the super nerd. I read books. I wore glasses so thick I could see Africa, so I was an easy target. And so when somebody disrespected me, I'm coming to get you.
Mhm.
And and just like same thing, God had to temper me and show me, you cannot do this. And I think there was that scripture. I'm probably going to say it wrong. I can't quote it right now, but I know it says, "Vengeance is mine; I will repay."
Mhm.
And when I read that, I said, "Okay, Lord, I'm gonna let you handle it." And I noticed that if I just step back, like you say, God will take care of it. He
Yeah.
might not, he might not bust them the head open to the white meat, but something will happen,
Right.
where they will learn, okay, this was wrong for you to do that, or they redeem themselves in some other kind of way. And like you say, people are watching. And
Yes, they
because I
are.
have people, man, you used to be this, that, and the third. And I say, well, let me introduce you to my friend Jesus, because he changed me a lot. Because I used to be a terrible person. I tell people I was a drug dealer. I was a thief. I was that guy. If you walk down the street and we're on the same side of the sidewalk, you better cross the sidewalk, because I'm going to do something. It's not like I might. I'm going to do something. So I can agree with you. It's good that God can mold us and work with us like that. And that's what I tell people. That's why you need to get on with Jesus thing, because Jesus is the way, man.
Mhm.
It's better than anything. And I tell people, that this is another thing. I know I'm a little off topic, but um, I don't see how people live without God. But we all did it at one point, because none of us was saved from birth. We all had to
Right.
come to Jesus,
Right.
you know. But now that I've been saved, I just it's hard for me to see that people don't want to enjoy the benefits. But I think the biggest problem with a lot of people is they don't want to give up control
Mhm.
of their life. They feel like they're in control when you're not. You're not really,
Oh, so
you know.
not.
Because I tell people when I witness to them, I say, you've made decisions in your life. Have you already made the right choice? Well, no. I said, well, why not give it up to God? God don't make mistakes.
Mhm.
Although some people I look at, I'm like, I don't know what he do with that one over there. Might not be a mistake, but it shows a joke or something. Let me put them together this way. It'll be funny, whatever. But oh my goodness, I love it. So, one more question. Can you share a memorable or uplifting experience from your time as being a first lady?
Hmm. Oh, um, it's been a couple of years ago now. I'm a part of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and we pride ourselves on finding womanhood. Um, and of course, you carry yourself as a finer woman. And with those young people in our church, I decided to do an etiquette class, and
Oh,
we had the blue carpet. They were in their gowns, their
oh
makeup.
wow.
The young fellas, they escorted them out the car, walked in on the carpet, set them down, pulled out their chairs, and I showed them how to eat a meal, how to eat dessert, all of the etiquette things that we think of when you're hosting a dinner or something like that. And it was so amazing that how it all came together. And to this day, they still make sure that they eat the proper way. And they'll let somebody else know that you're not eating the right way. They'll tell their
Right.
brothers or something like, no, you're not supposed to eat like you're supposed to do this. Or I showed them how to eat a cupcake, um, being finer to eat a cupcake.
Well, I'm curious to know how that is now. I mean, is there what's so different about it? Because I just
Right, we don't do that. So what you do, you take the cupcake and you take it apart and
hmm
you turn it over, you put the icing in the middle and you eat it as a sandwich. So
okay.
now you're taking smaller bites and not gulping it down.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay, guys. I've learned something tonight. Learned a little etiquette.
Oh, etiquette.
Yeah, I need that. My wife will tell you, I'm not refined. I'm just like you. I'm a country boy. I'm a Southern guy. Um, I'm jeans and t-shirt. She's been buying me different clothes, upgrading my image. It's like this shirt that I got on today. She's like, you need to stop wearing them. They're holy, but they're not holy like we talking about. They got holes all in them. She said, put them sanctified t-shirts to rest. Let them die. Don't
That's a
resurrect
good
them.
woman.
Yeah,
That
she
is
is. She
that's a
is.
good woman.
She dresses me for church and everything. She lay my clothes out, and I laugh at it now because I'm like, well, babe, do this go together with this? And she's like, yes, it goes together. I'm like, well, thank you. Feel like a little kid, but I get a few compliments and stuff, so she's doing something right. And then she
Right.
said, she says, well, you're getting ready to be a deacon. You need to dress like one. I'm like, I just want to put on some jeans. Like,
Listen
no,
to your wife.
I do. I do. She has definitely been a blessing and has upgraded my image. Yeah. But that's pretty much all that we have tonight. I just want to thank you for coming on with me and having this
Yes.
candid conversation. Is there anything else you want to share with the people before we get off?
Well, first, I would like to say thank you for the invite, and for anyone that's watching this. I encourage you to go to carolina.edu, our website. Serve as the president of this wonderful biblical higher education institution where we are preparing real people for real ministry in the real world. If you are looking for a experience, you are looking to grow yourself between Carolina Christian College and ABF, we are here to serve you. We are real leaders just trying to help somebody along the way so that you can so that you can hear, well done, my good and faithful servant at the end.
Amen. Amen. Well, thank you again for joining us on Insight, Purpose, and Perspective. Until next time, guys, I pray that you are inspired to believe, learn to think, and be empowered to act. And we'll see you in the next broadcast. All right. We can get the music.